Alright, so we cannot use the quadratic formula and pick off our a, b, and c until this is set equal to 0. So we are going to add by 1 on both sides. So 4x squared minus 8x plus 1 equals 0. The general form is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So looking at that, our a would be 4, our b would be negative 8, and our c would be positive 1. The quadratic formula is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. Every bit of that needs to be over 2a. Okay, and then let's walk through this. So x equals negative 8 plus or minus the square root of b squared. Make sure that negative 8, the whole thing goes in parentheses. Just a little side note, if you put this in your calculator, you will not get the same thing as this. Here, you square and then negate, giving us a negative 64. Here, negative 8 is squared, which would give you a positive 64. So I'm not sure if that's what the issue is, but just be careful. So b squared minus 4, our a was 4, and our c was 1, all over 2 times a, which is 4. So x equals negative negative, that's a positive 8, plus or minus square root. Underneath this radical, this is called the discriminant, and the negative 8 squared minus 4 times 1. Order of operations says we square first, so negative 8 squared is 64, minus, and then we would multiply. So if you are trying to do 64 minus 4, that's subtraction, and that would be going before multiplication. Again, I'm just trying to guess where we might be having a little sticky problems, but you should be multiplying the 4ac and subtracting it after you've squared the b term. So negative 4 times 1 is 16. All over our denominator of 8. All right, so now we have 8 plus or minus the square root all over 8. 64 minus 16, I want to say that's 48. Looks like that is the case. So our discriminant is 48. We'll break that down. All right. We'll do a little sidebar here with that square root of 48. When looking at breaking down a square root, you want to think about what's a perfect square that will divide into this. Here I see actually 16 times 3 is 48. That's not one you learn in grade school. I'm a nerd and happen to know that 3 times 16 is 48. If you did not see that, you could have said, well, I see a 4, and I know 4 times 12 is 48. So this right here, square root of 4, gives me 2, and square root of 12. And then we should say, well, you know what? That has a perfect square in it too, that divides in. So square root of 4 times square root of 3 gives me 12. So then right here, this gives me 2 again. So 2 times 2 times square root of 3, and we get our 4 square root of 3 to break that down. All right. So then up here, we get x equals 8 plus or minus. Now breaking down that square root of 48, we got 4 square root of 3 all over 8. Now, even though that 8 looks like, oh, I'm going to just divide over those pieces, that's awesome. Since you have added and subtracted terms, you have to divide that 8 by everything. Also, since that's addition, the opposite operation for reducing that would be subtraction, not division. So until it's a multiplication problem, I can't divide over it.